it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Monday, December 12th. So today we have the moon in Leo all day. Of course, it adds a little bit of fire and spice to our heart space, to our emotional realm. We can be a little bit overly dramatic, I would say, because we really want the spotlight. We want the attention for a second. We have new emotions we want to share. We have a new truth that we'd like to speak. We have new ideas for the future. There's a lot going on in our inner realms. And for the most part, the last couple of days has really kind of blocked us from being able to articulate and express that to its fullest extent. And now with the moon in Leo, we're definitely trying to figure out some ways on how it is that we can kind of express ourselves in a new way to those that need to hear it. There are 11 different aspects here today, so a semi-busy day in the cosmos, and 10 of them involve the moon in Leo. The moon is going to make an awkward interaction with the sun in Sag. Here's some fire on fire action. Of course, the moon is representative of our emotions, our intuition, the past, our unconscious selves, while the sun is our ego, our life force energy, what it is that we need to be shining a bright light on. We have the moon in Leo, very connected to trying to, again, bring forth some of the, I'm going to say, ideas and emotions that we've reviewed from our past self, from where it is that we're coming from. And the sun, of course, is trying to keep us hype, keep us positive, keep us confident, keep us focused on the possibilities that we can conjure up if we allow ourselves to dream without any limits. The overlap that we get, of course, is this present moment of the here and now, recognizing where it is that we kind of have to express ourselves, get some things off of our head space, off of our heart space in order to actually clear the path for us to be thinking more about the future. It is really hard for us when we have certain things that we need to get out of our bodily systems. It is really hard for us to be confident and optimistic and excited about the future when it feels like there's something blocking us from actually doing just that. The moon is going to make another awkward interaction, this time with Neptune, who is in its place of power of Pisces, in a direct position, still very much in its post-shadow period. And this particular interaction is really going to be a little bit difficult for us because we're seeing this wish-washiness in our emotions, in our thoughts, in the amount of clarity that we actually have in trying to make sense of things in our inner realm and really try to convey that message outside of us with the confidence and the clarity that we actually need. We can feel overstimulated. We can feel overwhelmed. We can feel like we just want to run and hide. We also feel like we want to stand up and stand out. So there is this little back and forth, little tussle that we are going to be experiencing because this Neptune energy is very creative, and so is the Leo energy. But the Neptune energy is all up in the fields that we can't make sense of, and the moon in Leo is all up in the fields that we are needing to make sense of in order to actually move forward and conjure up a new vision and a dream for us to actually be passionate about, to have a desire to pursue. The moon bumps into Mercury in a way that would suggest that we're going to have a little bit of a situation pop off in our exterior realms. Now, the moon is our heart space. Mercury is our head space. The moon is in the fiery, passionate energy of Leo. We're bold, we're brave, we're courageous. We just want to put ourselves out there. Mercury, our mental plane, is in Capricorn energy, in earth energy, where we're very grounded. We actually don't even want to deal with our emotions right now because we deem them not important in the great grand scheme of things of the to-do list that we have to kind of check off and get out of the way before we can think of other things. So there is this disconnect between our heart and our head. Our head is telling us to never mind about our thoughts, never mind about our feelings. Don't worry about trying to speak your piece right now. Let's concentrate on getting some shit done so that we can actually have a clean slate to figure out where it is that we need to direct our energies from here. Of course, that ain't going to go over very well with the moon in Leo because it is very connected to the here and now, very connected to what is weighing on our heart space. And there's likely some situations coming up for us to have these really intense heart-to-heart situations that we want to have, but our mental plane is telling us to distract, to avoid, to delay. So there is going to be this tussle between what it is that our heart wants us to do versus what it is that our heads are asking for us to do. The moon is going to bump into Venus, who is also in Capricorn energy. This is a positive interaction, though. So it's almost like the heart and soul of the zodiac, this Leo energy, and Venus, who rules over our heart chakra, rules over what makes us happy, what brings us a sense of joy and pleasure, rules over love and money matters. We are kind of jiving. We're in the same realm. Venus, although in Capricorn, would like to focus on being productive and getting things done and strategizing and planning for the future, also realizes that we can't do so if there are things weighing on our heart space. So it's almost like Venus and the moon energy, they come together and they allow us to really get in touch with what it is that is on our heart space, what it is that we do feel like we have to kind of speak out into existence to remove that energy blockage out of our heart space so that we can identify what is going to make us happy, who is going to make us happy, what we want to build, what we want to create. It does kind of feel like, Venus is stepping in, especially after these earlier interactions of us being kind of in a conflict of, should I, speak my truth? Should we have this heart to heart, or should I just keep my head down and do what I got to do? It's almost like Venus is stepping in to encourage us to get our energy right, to get our heart and head right, to articulate within ourselves what it is that we want to get out so that we can essentially move on and start thinking about longer term goals, longer term dreams. Now, the sun in Sag is going to sextile, which is a beautiful energy, with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, who is in Aquarius energy. So we got fire energy and we got air energy. And Saturn always comes in to help us kind of get tunnel vision for us to be able to focus from a more grounded place. Now, this is really going to help us kind of tap into where it is in life that we need to be a little bit more disciplined. We need to add in a little bit more, I'm going to say routine, a little bit more structure, a little bit more of a focus on what it is that we actually have to put together in order for us to be able to align with the vision, with the dream that we're currently trying to conjure up for the future. It's almost like we're redefining our mission. We're redefining our purpose. We're coming down from la la land of the Sag energy that we're flying high with. We're grounding ourselves out. We're becoming a little bit more aware of where it is that maybe we have bitten off more than we can chew. Maybe we're being unrealistic in some of the dream content that we're trying to conjure up. And instead, we are kind of putting the tunnel vision goggles on in order to take a good look at ourselves. This is where we become a little bit more aware of what it is that we need to do to build a little bit more of a system, a structure in our lives for us to be stabilized on. This is where we become a little bit more aware of our plans, of our goals, and how realistic they may or may not be. And this is where we're taking a little bit more of a grounded approach to really taking a good look at what we got on our plate. We're going to reprioritize some things because we do have a very extensive to-do list in front of us. We're trying to really kind of strategize at this particular point. What is the best move? What is the safest move? What makes the most sense? What has the most, I'm going to say, reward coming back to us? And what we will be realizing with this particular energy is that we have to slow down and pace ourselves. This is about energy management. Again, we seem to get a little bit too elated, too overexcited with this Sag season because, again, the whole purpose of it is to hype us up and show us the light out of the darkness that we just came out of with both eclipse season and Scorpio season. So it's like we're flying high, but we are nearing the end of Sag season. And, Saturn, who rules over Capricorn energy that we're about to move into, is giving us a little bit of a heads up saying, you know what, you're going to want to pull back the reins on all of these dreams that you're conjuring up, all of these commitments that you're making, all of these things that you're adding on your to-do list. You're going to really want to pace yourself because a lot of them are going to be pushed to the wayside. This is about realizing where it is that slow and steady always wins the race, and to get very real with what it is that you actually want to see be brought to life, created, and manifested, and get very real with what it is that you actually have to do in order to bring those elements to life. So the moon goes ahead and trines, which is a beautiful energy, with Chiron, the wounded healer. And this does suggest that we're making a lot of progress, a lot of headway in processing our emotions in our heart space, in speaking our truth, whether it is just speaking it to ourselves and bringing that into awareness, or whether or not we're actually making moves and making an attempt to grow, to heal, to improve through expressing ourselves outwardly. This is a beautiful vibe. This is a positive energy. It does really suggest that we are kind of feeling the weight be lifted off of our heart space, which is essentially all we can be asking for in trying to resolve some of the issues that are weighing very heavily on us, so that we are free to start creating and conjuring up new elements that we want to manifest. Now, the moon is going to get into the boxing ring with the true node. The true node is our soul's path. It's our destiny's point. And just when we made such headway in focusing, our energy, becoming a little bit more aware, pacing ourselves, making a little bit of growth, definitely doing a little bit of healing in our heart space. Of course, every single time we make huge leaps forward, that dark force agenda kicks in, that energy, that vibration kicks in and tries to pull us on back. Now, what we are kind of fighting out here in the boxing ring with the moon and with the true node is how we actually feel about moving forward. Because again, you hear me talk about this. We are in a very awkward situation right now where eclipse season has ended, where the solstice energy has yet to begin. And we're in this very interesting, awkward adjustment period where things are ending and things are beginning, but we're not really seeing the manifestation of the things beginning, and we're not really feeling like things have quite ended as such. And so what we're struggling with right now is this amount of energy, this maybe it's pain or trauma or grief or just conflict on our heart space that we really feel we have to clear away before we can go ahead and advance and take any action in moving forward. So getting into the boxing ring never feels good because we do have to fight it out. But what we're going to realize in the boxing ring is A, what we actually have to get off of our chest in order to feel light and free enough to actually move forward. And B, where it is that we're hesitating, blocking ourselves from the growth, from the improvement, from the healing energies that are needed in order to close the door on some of these topics and themes that are keeping us very heavily weighted in the past and preventing us from essentially taking the action and taking the steps for moving forward into our future. The moon goes ahead and sextiles, which is a beautiful energy, with Mars, who is retrograde in Gemini energy. So as you know, Mars being retrograde in Gemini energy has been a little bit frustrating, has been a little bit aggravating because Mars wants to take action. He wants to, fire up the inner flame of passion and desire inside of him and actually aggress himself using our physical energy, our physical bodies in order to pursue the path of happiness, to pursue what it is that we actually desire. But he's retrograde, so the energy gets internalized. We can't take action right now. And in Gemini energy, all we can do is think it out. All we can do is talk it out. All we can do is to debate the pros and cons and become a little bit clearer through the confusion of our mental plane on what it is that we actually want to pursue, what it is we actually want to do, what it is that we feel would be the best plan, the best strategy for us to take when we're gifted with the opportunity to actually move forward. So the moon interacting with Mars at this point, it's a sextile, which means there's a lot of passion coming from Mars. There's a lot of passion coming from the Leo energy that the moon is in. And what we're doing here is we're bumping ourselves up. We're hyping ourselves up. We're passionate. We have desires. We know what we're excited about. And we're essentially like lighting the fire, the inner flames of you, if you will, in the inner dialogue between our heart and our head to get very specific on what it is that is making us excited, making us feel like we have something to pursue. And through that process, kind of strategizing what it is that needs to be done in order to bridge the gap from where it is that we're at to where it is that we desire to be. The moon goes ahead, makes an awkward interaction with Jupiter. Jupiter, of course, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, blessings, who is in the very final degrees of Pisces energy. If you feel like you're stuck, like you're numbed out, like you're tired of it all, like you're exhausted, This is kind of why we are repeating the final degrees of the Pisces energy that Jupiter was set to wrap up back in the spring. And of course, moved into Aries energy. We kind of cleansed ourselves and cut the cords to those tough life lessons that we were kind of drowning in, and didn't get very far before Jupiter went retrograde and kind of slipped back into the beginning degrees of Aries and then slipped back into Pisces energy. We just had Jupiter go direct in Pisces under the new moon Sagittarius influence at the end of November. And now he is at the critical crisis ending degrees of Pisces energy, preparing to move into Aries once again on the 20th. So this is the funk. This is the numbness. This is the blahness. This is the stagnancy. And the moon in Leo energy interacting with Jupiter in this way is kind of recognizing where it is that we are stuck, where it is that we are stagnant, where it is that we're holding on and harboring a lot of thoughts and energies and emotions from the past that we can't seem to heal or work through or resolve. And it feels like we never will. However, we are trying to be positive. We're trying to be bold and brave and courageous enough to process the inner realm understanding and perception of the spiritual lessons that we had to go through. And we're trying to pluck out the silver linings. And it is all just a lot of energy and a lot of effort. We do get some help when the moon bumps into Mercury in a very, very positive way. So you may remember we had a moon and Mercury interaction earlier on in the day where our heart and head were not on the same page, where there was this little bit of kerfuffle, where we did feel like information or situations were coming at us from the outside realm, pushing us into a situation to have these heart-to-hearts, but yet our head was telling us to never mind, to just focus on the things that can actually be productive at this time. And again, just kind of led up to this cluster F of the back and forth conversation and inner dialogue that we've been having between our heart and our head. Well, this is a positive interaction, which means that the moon in Leo is now standing firm, recognizing through the earlier aspects that we just experienced throughout the day, what is weighing heavily, what needs to be said, what needs to be expressed, what needs to be put out there. And Mercury, the ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, ruler of communication, in Capricorn energy would prefer to not deal with the ooey gooey, emotions of it all, would prefer to just put our head down and work and be productive and actually seeing, tangible results for our mental power. But what we're getting here is almost like a compromise between our heart and our head, saying, okay, obviously I'm not going to be able to focus on the tasks at hand because I'm being consumed with the emotions that I need to get off my chest. So Mercury is like, you know what? Say it, spit it out, get it out, write it down, or call up the person or speak your truth. Do whatever you got to do to release the energy that you're harboring on your heart space, because we have shit to do. That's basically what it comes down to. If you are constantly thinking of, should I say something, or how should I say it, or, constantly feeling this weight of needing to tell your truth and have those heart-to-hearts and truly express yourself, blocking your focus, your ability to concentrate on the to-do list that we all have to do, then by all means, Mercury is saying, you know what, get it out. Do what you got to do. Communicate your truth. Speak it out. Speak it alive so that we can get in agreement here and actually be productive in getting shit done. So there is going to be a chance to release, I would say, whatever it is that we've been, conflicted on releasing from our heart space, from our head space. You got to get it out. The moon is going to end off this day with a square, again, boxing ring, conflict, tension point, with Uranus, the great awakener, who is currently retrograde in Taurus energy. Now, here's a little bit of a backstory. Uranus being retrograde in Taurus, that whole lesson for us is to illuminate where it is that we're overly attached to our physical realm. The people in it, our routines, possessions, materialistic items, titles, money matters, whatever the case may be. Take a look at your physical realm, your egoic avatar, the life that you're living, the environment that you're in. And this Uranian energy is trying to illuminate to us where it is that we've become overly attached to some of these elements in our lives, And you can tell that because there's a fear on what would happen if you were to lose it, or it would fall apart, or it would be taken away in some regard. The lesson here is to put us in a state of detachment. That doesn't mean that you cut yourself off from the things that you're afraid of losing. It means that you work on the attitude of gratitude to appreciate it in the space in which it is currently existing, knowing that if and when there should be a time that these elements get taken away from you or get removed from your life, that it would not be a punishment. It would not be a detrimental situation to you. It would be the marker that you have completed that contract, that you have outgrown those elements, and that essentially it is time to move on and make a change. That's what it's trying to teach you. Uranus wants us to change. Taurus energy doesn't want to change at all. Taurus energy is like, yeah, okay, I've created this rut for myself, but it's mine and it's predictable and I know exactly, what's going to happen. So I would much rather just stay in a state of discontentment, knowing what to expect, than to put myself out there and make these changes and have no clue what to expect at all. And the moon being in Leo energy is very excitable, very passionate, very expressive, a little bit dramatic. And so we may find that, we become very heart-centered about the fear that we have of losing or potentially losing, or reflecting back on the loss that has already taken place, that has essentially altered the physical realm, the landscape of our physical environment. And, we have to get in the boxing ring. We have to fight these elements out because it illuminates for us where change is needed, where transformation is needed, where a new perspective is needed, where a new energy is needed. And there is a lot that can be learned by taking the fear of attachment, the fear of losing something, the fear of loss, and sitting in your heart space about it and recognizing that it is just a spiritual lesson that teaches us strength, teach us what's important to us, teach us, what actually matters. And one thing, I'm not trying to go on a rant here, but one thing I will throw at you is that when you find yourself in a state of pain or grief or suffering, that is the equivalent to how much love and passion and happiness and desire you have over certain things. So let's just say you lost somebody very important to you. Well, the pain and the grief that you're experiencing is the absence of direction of the love that you have for that person. That's why you feel it so deeply, because you have all of this love in you that now you don't know how to express, you don't know how to give direction to. There literally is no person there for you to pour that in. So what you have to understand is that that pain only exists because you had love. That grief only exists because you have love. And when you learn to love things from a detached situation, it means that you love them for the lesson, for the presence that they are giving you in the here and now, and accepting that, yeah, it may suck if these elements ever get removed from your life, but that it isn't going to alter and totally destroy who it is that you are through going through the process of releasing old people, old situations, old titles, old possessions, old contracts, and instead appreciating the role that they played for the amount of time that they played it. So it isn't going to feel good. It is supposed to tug at our heartstrings. It is supposed to put us in a situation to realize how full our heart either is over certain elements or was because of elements being removed. And all this is supposed to teach us is to be a little bit more fluid, a little bit more loose with the attachments in which we make here in this physical realm, because nothing is forever.